Hello, senior managers of Rainy Days. We represent University of Calgary actuarial team in the reputation insurance for foodiest industries. My name is Ray.
Caitlin.
Justin.
Ryan.
Howard.
And here's our case for you. Reputation is important because a company's success really depends on it. It's an intangible asset, so if you damage your reputation in some way, you can't just repurchase it, and it takes a lot of work to reestablish it. In a highly competitive market, reputation is important because there's so many other brands that your consumers could switch to, and thus if your reputation gets damaged, it's not hard for them to change. That is why 75% of a business's value can be attributed to its reputation. Now we will present the Foodiest case. Foodiest is a major producer of wheat and dairy products in Canada. They operate in a well-developed industry, and the market value for Foodiest in 2016 was about $20 billion. According to the industry life cycle, Foodiest would be a mature industry, and as such, they do not experience much growth or innovation. A mature industry also has high barriers to entry, and therefore it is unlikely that Foodiest would want to change or exit the industry that they are operating with. In August of 2014, Foodiest experienced a nut contamination within their products. This dropped their reputational rating from 21st place to 76th place in 2014 and continued dropping their reputation into 2015. At the end of 2014, Foodiest experienced substantial drops in their adjusted operating earnings, which went down 36%, their return on assets, which went down 49%, their net earnings per share went down 119%, and their market value went down 9.67%. Expenses in advertising, public relations, and legal fees all increased in response to the contamination as well.
All right, so I'll be talking about profit. We found the best way to illustrate profit of Foodiest is by graphing out the net earnings from continuing expenses. And we found that this is the best way to illustrate profit just because it doesn't take into account of non-operational business transactions. So from this graph, we plotted it annually. It's reported annually from 2011 to 2016. The black line represents the data. And we also have two other lines. We have a green line and a red line. The green line's plotted at the average of all this data, which is around $10 million. We also have a red line illustrating the trend of the data. So there's a slight positive trend in all of this data, despite what happened in 2014. So in 2011, before the incident in 2014, there's already a negative trend. But what happened after the incident in 2014, it stooped the lowest. But all the marketing and all what Foodiest did to improve their company, it really showed in their earnings as it shot up from 2014. All right, so for sales, we plotted this as a time series. Sales was reported monthly, so we get a better look of what sales happened throughout 2011 and 2017. From this, we see there's a clear seasonality. There's often there's peaks in every year. And when 2014 in August, when the incident, the contamination happened, there's a huge spike downwards. So Foodiest's reputation did affect the sales for sure. But within a whole year, they made a quick comeback, but thanks to all their efforts to rectify that situation.
So after analyzing the advertising data, we came up with a hypothesis that why would a company need to spend more on advertising since they're already getting enough press as is from the reputational damage. So we created this time series chart, a proportion of sales to advertising expenses, and as you can see there's a significant downwards trend. In there's proving that extra money spent on advertising post-incident does not affect or increase sales whatsoever. So this time series graph breaks down year by year of the ratio from sales to advertising expenses, and as you can see in year 2014 it's the least effective. Advertising is not affecting sales that much, and they spent more on advertising post 2014, and as you can see, the ratios are much lower in 2015 and 2016, which further proves our point that more money spent in advertising does not necessarily increase sales in a reputational damage situation.
So how did Foodiest recover from this incident? First, they recalled all the affected products, such as the ones with nut contamination. Then they increased spending on public relations by holding news conferences, commercials to inform, educate, and apologize to the public. They also maintained a new reputation by not having any new incidents occurring since 2014.
Now we'll look at similar outbreaks with other companies. So the first situation we'll be looking at is with Kraft Foods. They announced a recall in 2014 due to metal fragments in their macaroni and cheese. They had to recall 6.5 million units, and this affected their reputational ranking by dropping them from 4th in 2014 to 16th in 2015 and then 25th in 2016. Their sales dropped after 21% within the first week, and this was with only 37% of customers knowing about the given recall. So had there been more awareness towards the recall, then the sales might have dropped even more. Following the day of the trade, the trade volume increased from 2.5 billion to 6 billion. So many people were buying and selling the stocks. However, the stock price itself did not rise or drop significantly. Also, for this incident, there was no reported deaths or injuries, so there was just a recall announcement. So the next incident we'll be looking at is a lot bigger. It is with the recently bankrupt Takara company of Japan. So this company produces airbags. They produced over 42 million faulty airbags and caused 11 deaths and 184 injuries. They produced airbags for 11 auto dealers, including Honda, Toyota, and Ford. So with this company, there was data manipulation dating back as far as 2000, and with the data manipulation, they did not properly test these airbags, and most of them were conducted as faulty. So due to fraud, severe reputational damage, and auto dealers refusing to import the given airbags produced by Takara, this eventually led to the bankruptcy of this company in June 26, 2017. So by comparison between Takara and Kraft Foods, Takara did not do a very good job of maintaining its reputation after an incident occurring. Instead, it continued to further lower its reputation among both its customers as well as the auto dealers, and because of this, it eventually led to their bankruptcy.
Now we will analyze the loss amount and the coverages needed for Foodiest. So based on the previous information given, we know that reputation can be damaged through various ways, such as quality of products, ethical, and security. Foodiest suffered a quality of products reputation damage, whereas Takara suffered an ethical reputation damage. So since Foodiest is a consumer and industrial products industry, the top two concerns are ethical and product services based on a survey done by Deloitte in 2014. And we also know that losses may vary depending on the severity of damage. And although Foodiest did recover from the previous reputation incident, another incident will definitely damage the reputation exponentially.
So future losses for Foodiest, if they have another reputational damage, like a bad press or another severe incident like this, could vary from a few $100,000s to several millions. If we give them an insurance policy, it will cover initial damage, any decrease in market value, and potential future legal fees, not including settlements. As a requirement for this policy, for them to have this policy, they must have disclaimers on their products, frequent audits to make sure contamination does not happen again, and as mentioned previously, since advertising is proved ineffective in recovering from reputational damage, loss payments are not allowed to go into advertising, only into public relations and into legal fees.
Loss amounts are based on the given data. So before the incident, before 2014, they spent on average $1.061 billion, including advertising, public relations, as well as legal fees. In 2014, however, they spent an extra $549 million due to the incident in relation to the averages before the incident. After 2014, Foodie has spent $1.241 billion on average, which is an increase of $179 million to before the incident. Now, if we look at public relations alone, there's an increase of $152 million during the year of incident and $52 million thereafter. So a total of $204 million of expense on public relations. Looking at legal fees, we noticed that there wasn't an increase in the legal fees after the incident. However, there was $27 million of settlement.
So based on our loss calculations, rainy days should cover up to a payment limit of $250 million with an ordinary deductible of $23 million. The reasoning behind this is that they spend an extra $204 million in public relations, plus the $27 million expense in settlements. So therefore, in a worst case scenario, $250 million should be our payment limit, and that $23 million comes from the $27 million in settlements minus that $4 million that we already cover for them in liability insurance. The insurance payout should only go into public relations recovery and legal expenses, and not into advertising, as this proved ineffective towards recovery. And typically for most business insurance cases, for every $100 million of coverage, there's a $5 million premium per year. So therefore, with $250 million in coverage, we will charge them $12.5 million per year.
In summary, Foodius Inc. suffered a significant damage to the reputation after the nut contamination incident. Based on our analysis and data, we've come to the conclusion that advertising expenses does not affect the recovery of sales. And therefore, we recommend that Foodius should stay out of the spotlight during similar incidents in the future. If the incident does occur again, the policy that we insure will ensure that the recovery to the reputation by providing insurance for public relations expenses as well as the legal fees. Thank you, Rainy Day Senior Management, for listening to our presentation. We hope you take our coverage premiums into consideration. And in conclusion, we decided that advertisement does not affect the sales of Foodius products. Thank you.